Ultimately, the deficit, the calorie intake, that is the most predictable and the most accurate lever that you can control. Calories do not change in value. Calories are generally consistent. I mean, like, sure, there is a discrepancy in the calories that you consume. Like, if you don't know this, buckle in. There's like a 10 to 20% discrepancy in packaged food. So even though you might scan it and be like, yeah, it's 130 calories for an Aussie bite, not always. Not all Aussie bites are created equally. So if you set a reasonable deficit, if you go into this idea that like, okay, I'm going to lose 1 pound of fat per week, that means that in order to do so, you need to be in a 500 calorie deficit. Now, this is pretty reasonable for most people. But if you go in without this game plan, let's say you go in the way that, like, I mean, frankly, a lot of people do. They're just like, I want to lose 5 pounds. So they're already thinking down the line, I want to lose 5 pounds. And they're like, I don't have a timeline. I just want to lose it. So however it needs to be done, I just want to get it done. This is a surefire way to commit to a deficit, one that you can't actually stick to, that ultimately is going to make it very, very difficult to adhere to, ultimately putting you in a position where buy-in out the gate is going to be rocky at best, but likely low. And in the case that you are just like, okay, I'm going to lose 5 pounds, whatever I have to do, I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to jack up my cardio. I'm going to put myself in a 1,000 calorie deficit or 1,500 calorie deficit. It's like, congratulations, you might be able to follow that for a very short duration, but eventually something is going to break. And really, when we're talking about doing more, we have to respect that there are ceilings in which we can create a deficit. We can't create a deficit that is too large. Otherwise, why would you not just fast until you're 5 pounds lighter? So this is where you really have to understand, like, adherence is everything. Now, what erodes adherence? The answer, dietary fatigue. Dietary fatigue, and, you know, sure, you could say training fatigue, any kind of output that is skewing hunger signaling. Now, dietary fatigue, that starts, like, that's kind of like a clock that just begins the moment you say, I am dieting. Like, the moment you tell yourself, like, I'm on a diet, I'm in a fat loss phase. Like, the perception of dieting is what ultimately drives dieting fatigue. Now, whether or not you're fully committed, so you have those people on the end of this spectrum, that's like, okay, I'm going to start dieting and, you know, we're just going to, slowly, like, I'm gonna dip my toe into it. And then what do you know? They're like 8 months into a diet. They've lost like maybe, I don't know, 7 to 10 pounds. And maybe their original goal was like 25, 30. And they're like, yeah, like I've gotten results, but I'm tapped out at this point. I respect the slower approach because I think for some people it is needed. I think for most people, though, what it does is it puts them in diet jail. It puts them in a perception of like, I need to lose weight and I need to do it in a way that's linear and I'm just going to be stuck here until I reach this destination. Whereas if they, I don't know, maybe we'll just go with this example. They go to diet jail and they're like, okay, I'm only going to do my time. I'm only going to be in here for max, 8 weeks, and I'm going to do my time as hard as I need to do it. Like, I'm going to pay my dues. I don't know where this analogy is going, so bear with me. And really at this point, like, I know at 8 weeks, I'm out. So I only have the ability while I'm in this phase to lose the fat that I'm aiming to lose. So in that case, if you have, let's say you're in this phase for, I don't know, do I want to use the 8 week example? Let's just say you were losing 10 pounds over the course of 8 weeks. Okay. So whether you lose the 10 pounds or not, you're only spending those 8 weeks in that phase, only in diet jail for 8 weeks for those 10 pounds. And you're coming out after 8 weeks, you're like, I'm done. No matter if I lost 4 pounds, no matter if I lost 5. If that's the case, if you went in with that mindset, like, this is the allotted time that I'm allowed to lose weight, I think the perspective on this and the commitment would be very different, rather than this transient approach of like, it's April, I'm going to try to get in the best shape of my life by the end of the year. And like, even if that means I'm going to spend 3/4 of the year, like, in a fat loss phase, it's like, that's a very aimless plan. It's very intuitive. And frankly, I think when it comes to fat loss, we need to, for most people, for healthy individuals, I think we need to take a less intuitive approach and something that does make sense, that is based and rooted in logic and rationale rather than just emotions and hunger signaling, because for most people, hunger signaling is going to be heavily skewed. Now, I think the other aspect when it comes to diet that is oftentimes overlooked is how important it is to hit the diet hard from the beginning, because like I said, that dietary fatigue, it is going to accumulate. And regardless of whether you lose the weight that you intend to lose or you lose half of that, you are going to have the perception that I have dieted. Like I have been in a diet. And it's what kills me is that like people can be getting into like a contest prep or fat loss phase, non-contest prep, and they can be like, no, I've been dieting for 6 weeks, but the scale only reads that they've lost like 2-3 pounds. And I'm like, you might believe that you have been dieting, but you're not doing a good job of it. Like it's not been a hard diet. It's not been effective. You've been doing it relatively passively, kind of in the background. And if you continue to lose at such a slow pace, I mean, ultimately, if you have that deadline, if you have that hard line in the sand, like, hey, this is when I'm ending the diet, no ifs, ands, or buts, like I'm ending the diet at this point, well, you're probably going to fall short of your goal. Or in the case that it is a hard deadline and you must be in shape, like let's say with the show, maybe you do get to the point where ultimately you do have to take extremes in order to get in shape as quickly as you need to. I think honestly, most people, they tend to get upset. I think really the only time people get upset is when their expectations are unmet. And I think that's where going into it, what I find to be really helpful with clients is to be like, yo, honestly, like if you want to lose at this pace, this is what this looks like. Let me forecast it out for you. Let me just like show you. I'll put the formula in and you can see if you lose at 0.5 pound a week, I mean, it's real simple. It's not going to take you it's going to take you, honestly, the rest of the year to get to where you want to be. Now, this is the degree of a sacrifice that will require that you make. It's not, this is terrible. It doesn't come without a sacrifice. I was going to say sacrificeless. It is not like there certainly is still a cost that you have to pay. And that's where I would rather someone just commit to paying that cost in a very efficient and very streamlined manner than them drag it out and ultimately find that, wow, even though I'm paying such a small cost, over time, it's harder to pay this cost because of that fatigue accumulating in the background.